Hello and welcome to another Tuesday Talk with Ruby Reese. My name is Killian. I'm co-founder at Ruby Reese and I will also be your host. This week we're talking about a really exciting topic, finding the right fit for you when it comes to choosing a dog. I suppose it's a topic that divides a lot of the community because there's no real answer per se. There's no one size fits all that suits everybody. It would be very easy, but also very boring if we could just say, you know what, everyone go out there and get yourself a Labrador. So I suppose it's a lovely topic to talk about because some of the people listening in will be considering getting a dog, and it's a really nice time, but also one that I suppose I've been reflecting on, and I think it's definitely a time that it's worth getting out there and talking to the dog community in general. I know that personally I would recommend anyone to go out there and find a local dog trainer that you trust and that you're willing to listen to their advice. Really, I suppose if personality isn't a fit, then you're never going to listen to their advice fully. So I think finding the right trainer for you in your relative local area, I mean it's relatively easy to travel as well, but find someone that you trust and ask them about the specific breed, and be open to the critique, because I suppose every single dog breed out there has some critique to do with them, just because not every dog was bred to suit everybody. So the fit is out there for you. It's just about finding it and just be open to the critiques. There's pros and cons, and of course there's always the generalization. I mean, you'll get generalizations made about breeds that won't be specific to every individual, but it can be a guiding principle. And I suppose a lot of the commentary also comes down to general energy levels and the size of dogs and the maintenance of specific breeds, and they're pretty much across the board pretty fitting for the whole breed as well. And I suppose that this is a time as well where it's really worthwhile looking at not just the training side of things, but also what you might, what your dog entails in general, and what's available in your own area when it comes to professional services like grooming, and what companies are providing top quality feeds, treats, if you want to participate in any dog sports or anything like that, what's available to you. So it's a really exciting time, and of course it's a great time for me also to plug our top quality products. I think our philosophy is always that usually the better quality products that you put into your dog, the less that you're going to be spending on medical issues in the future, and that kind of goes across the board in the nutritional supplement area and treats, but also the topical products like shampoos and things like that. You really want to be using something that's been specifically designed for dogs, and something that's going to do more good than harm to your dog. So yeah, it's all about figuring out what is around, and like I say, your local community will definitely have loads of opinions to share with you, and then it's down to you to distill those ideas and try and see what makes sense for your lifestyle, because realistically, your lifestyle and even the lifestyle of the trainer you're speaking to or the expert you're speaking to in whatever area might not be the same. But we were delighted to have the wonderful Vanessa Fagan on to chat with us from Perfect Paws Dog Training. And it was a brilliant chat. And of course, during the chat that we had, we spoke about different dog breeds, and we started some of this stereotyping. And it's important to point out that we're not breed bashing, of course. It's worthwhile looking at all different types of breeds and then seeing what suits your lifestyle, because realistically there's going to be pros and cons, and there'll be a perfect fit for you. So with that, we hope you enjoy listening in to the chat that I had with Vanessa. Vanessa, thank you so much for coming on and joining me on Tuesday Talks. How are you doing?
I'm grand. You're so welcome, and I just thank you so much for having me on. I'm really looking forward to the chat.
Thank you so much. And would you do us the pleasure of introducing yourself briefly?
Okay, my name is Vanessa Fagan. I am a dog trainer and canine behaviourist. And I'm also, just in relation that will make sense later on, I am also a recreational freediver and have taken diplomas in marine biology as well as canine behavioural studies, and the two have kind of intertwined over the years. So yeah, I'm a force-free trainer. I do only positive reward training with dogs, and I also help people who are having very intense behavioural issues with their dogs as well.
And maybe would you explain in one or two sentences what force free is about, just in case someone's listening in and doesn't understand what that means?
Force-free for me means that you're not using any devices that cause any discomfort to your dog. So I do not use, well, electrical collars are now banned in Ireland. They've been banned since, I think, May 11th. They're gone. So I do not use prong collars, electrical collars, and I do not use halties. I also do not use clickers or whistles or anything. All I use is confidence and body language and tone. And that's it. Nothing more for your dog. And my sessions are always fun. We make it very fun, and we use a lot of rewards, so high value treats to make dogs really enjoy what they're doing. And I do all kinds of training as well. Probably a little different to most people, that not only I combine the force-free training with I do protection training for people, especially women who want to walk alone with their dogs at night and the morning. So we help teach their dogs how to act aggressive, but they're not if there's a predator or somebody advancing on them. I also do what we call US Marine service training, which is what you see on TikTok. You see your US Marines doing all this kind of training, and it's just great for bonding. And I find that male dog owners love to do it because it makes them feel like they're really, really big and important with their dogs. And then we do the classic old things, which is we used to call obedience, but we call it force-free now, which is your sit, lie down, your house training, all of that. But it's all done with treats and fun and positive teaching. So that's what I mean by force-free. So we're not making your dog feel uncomfortable in any way whatsoever.
That all sounds amazing. Sign me up. It sounds like loads of fun. Okay, so we chose a really, really important topic, and I'm sure there'll be people listening in to our chat currently in this situation. So how do we choose a dog for our lifestyle, I suppose? Maybe let's start off on how do many people choose a dog breed in Ireland, and are there any pitfalls here that we should be looking out for?
Okay, so Ireland really is quite new to a dog culture. There's other countries that had a very strong dog culture for a very long time. Where I trained was actually in Canada, way back in the early noughties, and the dog culture there had already exploded. It was huge. And I was seeing breeds of dogs I had never seen before in my life. So I was seeing things like St. Bernards, Siberian Huskies, these kind of dogs that Ireland hadn't seen yet. They were not popular here. In fact, I think if you look back on the 80s and the 90s in Ireland, dogs used to just roam around Ireland. They were never on leashes. They just roamed. You'd be walking down the street in Dublin, there'd be a dog going somewhere. In his head, he had a mission, he was on his way. But there'd be nobody with him. That was quite normal. That was a common everyday thing. There were no groomers, no trainers, not as many rescues as there are now, none of that. But that's all changed. Now we've got a big dog culture, but we're still relatively new to it. And I still see people choose dogs, I hate to say in the wrong way, because you don't want to make people feel bad about it, but they're inclined to base getting a dog on what they think is really cute. Or they see a dog in a movie and they go, wow, that's amazing, I want one of those. And then they go and they get it. And what they're seeing in a movie is a false perception of what a dog is like, because there's a trainer there. That dog's been trained to act that way. There's probably been 300 takes before they got it right, and the dog went berserk on every bit that they tried to do. And then you get people looking and they think, oh, it's really cute and fluffy and sweet and nice. And that one walking there is so well behaved. Oh, I'd love one of those. And I think people believe that when they get the dog, it's going to be perfect from day one. What they're really getting is like a brand new baby in the house. It has to learn everything and you've got to teach it. And they forget that. They don't think about the 15-year lifespan of that animal that they're going to have. They just think of that cute little puppy and how much fun that's going to be. And that's their number one pitfall. And it happens to so many people. And I think this is sometimes why our rescues are bursting at the seams as well. Because people get a little puppy and they go, oh, it's so cute and it's lovely. And then it starts to poo and it starts to pee. It starts to puke. It starts to eat the furniture. It starts to eat the clothes. And they panic and they give up and then they give it away.
Yes, and I suppose like there's such a disconnect, like you say, between the imagery we see and the actual reality. I suppose we're becoming more aware of Instagram versus reality, but you know, I suppose I grew up with St. Bernards, so my parents would have seen Beethoven the movie before we got our St. Bernards, and they would have been under no illusion to what was coming. How I ended up with the French Bulldog these days, I don't know, after a long line of St. Bernards, but that's a whole other story. So I suppose what factors should we maybe be looking at to suit a dog to our lifestyle?
Well, the first thing I say to people when people come to me and say, I'm thinking about getting a puppy, what should I get? And I say, research. And when you're finished research again. And do that for about 2 months. Don't spend a week just sitting at the computer looking up the breed that you'd like to get. You know, open yourself up to everything that's out there. And, you know, I'm not going to condemn people who do go down the route of going to a breeder, an IKC registered breeder, proper breeder, not, you know, an underground breeder who's got a puppy farm. But there are some IKC registered breeders there who are doing everything the right way. And I know it's not perfect, but people will buy because they want a certain breed and they want it, you know, to suit a certain life. But it's really important to look at the different factors in your own life before you do anything. Are you somebody who's going to be working remotely, or are you somebody who's going to be gone for most of the day? Do you have young children in the house? Do you have teenagers in the house? Maybe you don't have any children in the house. You know, you need to consider everything. Maybe you've got cats in the house. You know, are you in an apartment? Are you in a house on its own property? Are you in a terraced house on a housing estate with a small back garden and virtually no front garden? You have to take all of that into consideration. So I think it's really important to sit down and write everything out in point about your lifestyle. Are you a very active person? Are you someone who sits in front of the TV all night and doesn't get up at all and go out? You've got to consider all of that before you even begin to look. Because the dog and the breed that you choose must be able to blend in with that lifestyle. Otherwise, it's going to be not just uncomfortable for you, but insanely uncomfortable for your dog as well.
Absolutely. And I think you really hit a point about the energy levels, because I think people say active and it's like, well, are you doing kind of a 20-minute walk around the block? Because that's not what an active dog needs, you know. Sometimes you know, there's are mountain ranges involved in your daily activity.
Yeah, well, I mean, for example, if you take the Siberian Husky, which when Game of Thrones came out, they had the dire wolves in Winterfell in Game of Thrones. Anyone who watches that will understand all of that. And the two wolves in that became insanely famous, and they're huskies. They lived here in Ireland. I think one of them has since passed. I don't know about the other one. But Siberian huskies, I mean, when you see the word Siberia in the name of the breed to begin with, you have to understand that that's a very harsh environment that dog was bred to live in. It's a dog sled dog, and it was bred to run the guts of 25 miles in one go, pulling a dog sled with you on it. It's also a wilderness breed, so it's got a little bit of leadership left in there by the breeders, because that dog has to survive no matter what in really harsh, icy, snowy conditions. And then you have people who get them, who live in a one-bedroom apartment here in Dublin and have them living in there with them. It's not going to work. But if you've got somebody who has a house rural with lots of land, who maybe is an avid runner and they run every day for 2 hours straight, perfect, because that dog can be with them 2 hours running every day. That dog's going to love it. And then the rest of the time they can be free to be out on their wilderness in their huge property doing whatever they want. That's what they need. opposed to somebody in an apartment who should probably go for a miniature dachshund because it doesn't need a lot of exercise and it's quite happy to sit up on cushions all day with you. So it really is important to look at your lifestyle and make out those points so that you make the right decision for yourself.
Exactly. Like saying that you're very active does not mean you walk 10 minutes to get to the Lewis. Exactly.
Very active means maybe somebody who's athletic, like our Olympians, and you're looking for that type of a dog that can match that kind of a life. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. So it's just worthwhile noting, and it doesn't mean that they're bad breeds. It's just they don't suit certain lifestyles.
Exactly. That's all it is, and that's true of all breeds. It's always human error when something goes wrong. It's human error.
Exactly. And then talking maybe about dog's age, because I know we'll have people that are interested in purchasing a dog and also maybe in adopting or fostering. So a dog's age, maybe how could adopting an older dog maybe differ from looking at a puppy stage maybe?
Well, when you're looking at a puppy, you're looking at hopefully a healthy pup that's going to come to you, no issues, depending on what road you've gone down to get that puppy. If you're going for a good IKC registered breed that has a good bloodline, it's going to be a lovely healthy puppy when it comes to you. If it's, coming out of some sinister place, the chance are that puppy may be coming to you with a lot of issues. Not just not physical health issues, but also mental health issues as well. Because the way it's been raised in the first few weeks of its life is IKC registered, that's less likely to happen to you because it will stay with its mother till it's at least 10 weeks. Which is where it'll learn all its social skills. If mum is taken before that, then you do end up with behavioural issues. Getting an older dog is fantastic. It is lovely to give a senior dog a home. It really is. But it comes with health issues. Most older dogs are going to have things like arthritis. They could have heart issues. They could have dietary issues when they get older, moving slower. They could be deaf. They could be starting to go blind. So you may have those issues with an older dog. And then you might get lucky. You might have an amazing older dog that doesn't get any of that for a very, very, very long time after you get it. But I definitely do think there's advantages in both. The nice thing about a senior dog is it's not going to be an absolute raving nutcase when it comes to your house. It's probably just going to want to sleep and relax and go for slow walks with you everywhere. Whereas the younger dog is going to be an absolute nutter. It's going to want to play. It's going to chew things. It's teething. It's going to lose its teeth. So it needs to chew, and play and play and play. That's how it learns. And it's probably not going to be house trained, whereas your older dog probably will be house trained because it will have come from somewhere else at some point. So there's advantages to both. The sad part about the older dog is you're only going to get it for a short few years, whereas when you get your puppy, you're looking at maybe between 10 to 15 years, and in some cases 20, depending on your breed. I think they're kind of the advantages and disadvantages. One is completely bonkers, but you'll have it for a very long time, and the other one is really slowing down, and it's at that lovely quiet stage, but you may not have that for long.
It's all about matching. It kind of underlines our point. It's matching it to your own lifestyle. If you're just looking for a cuddle buddy on the sofa, you might be a match made in heaven. So it could be.
And I think sometimes a senior dog is better to go to a senior person. Somebody maybe who's retired.
Going for those slower walks around the park and enjoying themselves.
Yeah, much better than trying to manage a puppy, So I recently watched an elderly couple who got a puppy and they were finding it quite difficult because the puppy was just completely wired to the moon, and they were finding that quite hard to cope with, during the sessions. And
then they're going to have to have a lot more probably enrichment in between them to try and use up some of that energy in ways that they can manage, right?
I mean, your old dog is happy just to have a treat, cuddle, and a nice open fire and just lie there. Whereas your younger dog needs to burn up that insane energy, and depending on the breed you've got as well. There are different levels of energy depending on breeds. So you could have a puppy that's, mid-level, but energy quite high, but then you could have one that's really, really high energy, like your border collies. They're very high. They're beautiful dogs. So many people love them, but they don't realise that high energy, that's a working dog. It should be on a farm running around after sheep all day long. And you might have it in your home with you in semi-detached house, and it needs to burn that energy like this. And if it can't do it, it can become destructive because it's just so desperate to burn the energy. Definitely there's big advantages to both ends of the scale.
That's it. Yeah. And I suppose looking at size of dogs then is probably going to be an interesting one because, there's the obvious thing about small dogs being more compact usually, and I know there's some big lazy ones around as well that
Yeah.
might like to chill out. But what do you think about the size of the dog?
A size of dog, again, depends on the size of your property, what you're dealing with, how much of a garden you've actually got. Sorry, right now I'm actually pushing a border collie out from under the table who's trying to give me a ball while we're talking. Sorry. Out you go, Bear.
It's totally
If
fine.
anyone sees my stuff, they'll know Bear. um, I think the size of dog definitely depends, again, on your property and your home and what you have to offer. You know, I mean, even me, I'm in a small little Irish cottage. I have a very large back garden, but a very large dog would not be comfortable inside my tiny house. So I think you still need quite a large house along with a large garden for a very large, what I call muscle dog. So your St. Bernards and things like that. Um, and then also the sight hound.
Yeah.
The sight hound can be a little bit deceiving because it's often sold to people as a couch potato dog, that it just sleeps all the time. But yes, it sleeps for 8 hours a day, but on the ninth hour, it wants to go completely nuts.
Yeah.
And you do need a decent property for a sight hound. It's got to be able to run. That dog wants to run. That, and, you know, mine is an Arabian Saluki cross. So she's great. She's passed out right now, but she might decide in an hour's time she needs to get out and go nuts. So
Yeah.
while she's not a large dog, she still needs a large property because she needs to run very, very badly. But I do think you need large property for a large dog and a large home as well, so that you
Yeah.
can be comfortably in it. Because you yourself will start to suffer if you're in a very small place with a massive dog.
Well,
You
that's
know,
it. I think for any of these points, you can bend over backwards and try to make something fit. You'll always make something work in the worst case scenario, but that's not really the ideal case, really, is it? I mean,
Yeah.
I could get something that's really really active as well, that needs a mountain hike every day, and it would probably do my heart a bit of good if it got me out and about more often. But would it really suit my life and my business and everything that I try to pack into my day? Probably not.
But then the other thing I think as well that we have to consider when you've got a large breed, that's extra cost as well, because on top of having that very large breed, that now means colossal amounts of food. You know, medical bills may be higher because that dog will require a higher dosage of things like anesthesia if it's going into surgery, which costs a fortune these days for people. You know, I mean, you only have to look at the neutering now, because now we know that it's better to leave neutering until dogs are fully grown. There was a time they used to neuter at 5 and 6 months for every dog, but now they're realizing that the medical advantages to leaving it longer is better. So when you've got a very large dog, you're waiting for up to 2 years before you do neutering, and that dog could weigh anything between 50 and 60 kgs at that stage if it's a very large breed, which means about 3 doses of anesthesia. So it could end up costing you even 600 or 700 euros to have that dog neutered, whereas opposed to your little tiny dogs where you know they only need the one little anesthetic and it's all done very quickly. So you have to take all of that into consideration as well. People forget all that. They forget the cost, the veterinary costs behind having a very large breed, and the food, and you know, everything that you need. Grooming is going to cost you a lot more in a very large breed because the groomer has to spend a lot more time on that dog. You know, so yeah, you definitely have to be very careful what you pick.
And actually, moving on to grooming and maintenance requirements for different breeds, you know, I think that's something worthwhile pointing out as well, right?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. And especially at the moment, one of the most popular breeds going around are poodle mixes.
Yeah.
So your Labradoodles, Golden Doodles, Cavapoos, Cockapoos, these have become, God, they must be the most popular breeds in the country. Everywhere I look, I see one.
Yeah,
Looking
absolutely.
At me, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
You know? They're kind of taking over Ireland, these breeds. And because you've taken that poodle, which is, you know, poodles are the hypoallergenic breed. When you cross them with another dog, are they still 100% hypoallergenic? I'm not so sure. But what you do get is a very tight coat that can mat very easily. And so regular grooming visits are badly needed for those dogs. And, you know, I've had people, when I go to see them, I'm training that type of dog, and I go to their home and they say, oh my God, look at the dog, I brought them to the groomers, and they scalp. And I say, what did they say? Well, the groomer said the dog was badly matted. And I says, well, it probably was. And I said, unfortunately, because of that coat, you've got a combination of two breeds. That coat is so tight and thick at the root that when it starts to mat, it starts to weigh down and pull on the dog's skin. And it can cause terrible irritation and pain for your dog. So your groomer really is right to remove it and let it grow back.
Let's pay some respect to the brilliant groomers of the country as well,
because some amazing groomers out there.
Nobody goes into grooming saying, I want to scalp every dog that comes into me. You know, I just don't think that's why they choose the career. So
no, I think they're hoping to send doggies out all fluffy and sweet with little ribbons in their hair, which is what they do 99% of the time. You know.
And I don't think they enjoy telling you as well that, you know, you've got a dog with difficult coat and things like that. Like
nobody wants to do that.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it even happens with us as trainers. We go into a house where we can see that there's terrible problems with the dog, and that unfortunately the humans have caused it. And you've got to try and tell them that. You know, and you don't want to have to tell owners that, but you have to be honest with people when you go in if you want the training to be successful. And it's the same for the groomers as well. They want the dog to be healthy and well when they do these things, you know. So they're doing it to help your dog, not to hinder it or hurt it. Yeah.
And I don't think it's ever, or it's normally not something where a professional is telling you, you know, oh, it's your fault and you meant to do it. You know, it's usually something that's accidental and you didn't realise you're doing it wrong. And they're just showing you the path to do things better so that you have a better life because you're responsible for your dog, you know.
That's kind of what I mean about the dog culture being quite young in Ireland still, because in places like Canada, that's a lot of people will already be aware of all of that information. Whereas here, we're still only learning all of that. You know, we're getting there. We're getting so good at it, but we're still not quite where those countries are yet. You know, where they've had this massive dog culture for 30, 40 years. You know, we've really only had it the last 15, 20 years, you know. So, we're catching up, but we're getting better. People are getting more knowledgeable, but there's still a bit of a way to go yet, you know.
Definitely. And I suppose it's why I'm so thankful for having a format like this and having people like you coming on and sharing, because it's just so important that we have the open conversations and get some of the information out there.
Absolutely.
And I suppose we spoke about you know, different breeds and even the crossbreeds and with their different coats and I'm wondering, do you see as well in crossbreeds that sometimes they take the typical characteristics of your two different breeds with them? Is that something that you might see on a behavioural side as well?
I do, and actually I'm seeing it more and more with some of our poodle mixes. You know, I mean, just to touch on at the moment that Ireland is very controversially on edge at the moment about our XL bully breeds. And the attacks that have taken place, and they have been absolutely, without a doubt, terrible attacks. But I'm concerned about some of the crossbreeds. I think when you start to crossbreeds, it's really, you're setting dogs up for disaster, especially when you're taking two hunting breeds. So when you're taking things like a Cocker Spaniel and a Poodle, they're both hunting dogs, and you're bringing them together, you can end up with some behavioural issues of snapping and biting. And these kinds of dogs, especially our Golden Doodles and Labradoodles, are being used more and more as assistance dogs. But I personally believe that assistance dogs should be used with purebred dogs, pedigrees, and not these crossbreeds. Excuse me. And the reason these crossbreeds are being used is because they're hypoallergenic. So it's to make the life of the person who might have an autistic child or a child with disability, to make the life easier in that sense. But they're known to be, from what I can see from my own experience, I don't know how other dog trainers feel, they are very reactive.
Yeah.
And they react very badly on leash towards other dogs, lunging and barking and growling. And I have quite a lot of work with that. When they're off leash and at home, they're pussycats. It's the worst term I can use, but they're absolute sweethearts, and they're really good dogs, but they have got a tendency to be very reactive, and I would be very concerned about that, even more so than our XL bullies right now.
Yeah, and I think if anyone is listening as a slight aside, if anyone is looking at say a poodle mix or is looking for hyperallergenic dog in general, look at the standard poodle. Honestly, guys, you can get them in all shapes, you can get them in so many colours. They're such characters.
There's one thing I have to add to that. Out of every dog I've ever trained all the years that I've done training. And I mean, I qualified as a trainer back in 2005, so I've been going for a very, very long time. I didn't always do it full time over that time because the dog culture was so small in Ireland, but now I do. And all the dogs I bred, two breeds that I always found unbelievably fantastic to train: German Shepherds and Poodles. Because poodles are so eager to please you that when they're training, they learn everything so fast. They pick it up like this. And I do the full puppy training course, which is about an 8 to 10 week course where I'm with people every week. And poodles will complete that course in 5 weeks. They're done in half the time of everybody else because they're just so eager to please, and they're so bright and bubbly and absolutely mad as brushes. But they are fantastic dogs to train. And on that note, I would say to people, if you want an assistance dog that is hypoallergenic, go for your pure breed poodle. They're perfect. Perfect. Yeah. And they're so good humoured and so beautiful as well. They're such stunning dogs.
Yeah. And all have their own individual personalities as well. They're just, they've got it all. They're absolutely brilliant.
They're beautiful dogs. And they're not that popular in Ireland. There aren't that many of them walking around.
Well, you know, at the rate we're going of promotion now, we'll see them everywhere.
Get yourself a poodle. They're
exactly,
great.
Exactly. And talking about different specific breeds that are brilliant to train and that are great, well-mannered, typically, obviously every dog is an individual, but are there specific breeds of dog that are better suited to families? Or maybe with young children?
It's a tough one, really, to figure that one out. Your poodle probably is a great one for that. Golden retrievers are a lovely dog as well as a family dog, but they are completely very hyperactive for at least 5 years when you first get them. But they are lovely. I have one who comes to me here once a week. You could sit on her and she would never bare her teeth. She would never growl at you. She's very sweet. But then at the flip side, I have seen golden retrievers that can be a bit snappy. I think a lot of it is to do in how you raise them. How you raise them and how you train them really will determine whether they're good dogs. German Shepherds are fantastic dog. If they're trained properly and looked after properly, they make great family dogs. And I've trained quite a few Shepherds in my time. The kids are sitting with their arms around them and they're such beautiful dogs. They really, really are. I'm actually blown away by the fact that they're on the restricted breed list. Because I've yet to meet one that's ever been a bad dog. They've all been really, really great, you know. But then that's the families who own them, these lovely families. You know, I know one in particular, a beautiful dog called Xena, and she sleeps in the bed with the kids and everything, and she's just an angel. So I think it depends on how you raise them and how you look after them and how you teach your children to behave around them as well. That will really determine whether a dog is a good family dog or not. It's very hard to say, oh, this one is a perfect family dog. Because on paper, yes, it looks that way. But what's the background? Where does it come from? Was it removed from its mother too early? Is it a rescue dog? Does it have a history? That will all determine whether that dog's going to be good or not. So it's really hard to say that one particular breed is a fantastic family dog and another one isn't.
And then, and then on top of that, their current situation will influence it even more, because if they're a very energetic dog and they've got outlets for the energy, or if they're very, say, lazy but cuddly dog, are they getting those cuddles, or are they being left at home for 9 hours a day? That'll probably influence heavily their personalities as well on a day-to-day basis.
I have to say, I think if I had to pick one and say that this is a great dog to have as a family dog, I would have to go with a sighthound every time. Greyhounds, they're just beautiful. They're so placid and so sweet. And when they come to you for a cuddle, the head will go down. The head will go down and they push their head into you. They're just incredible. This is my second one that I've had. I had a beautiful purebred English brindle ticked greyhound for 9 years. He didn't come to me till he was about 5, and he passed away last year. He was the softest, gentlest thing. He just didn't have a bad bone in his body. And Gwenny, who I have now, my beautiful white Saluki, is the same, exactly the same. My son could dance around her and she would do nothing. In fact, when he plays in the back garden, she loves to play with him. She goes with him. So I think if I had to pick a breed, it would be a sighthound. Absolutely. Every single time.
And I must say, I've met so many lovely sighthounds around
Yeah.
in at all the events and everything, and you're so right. They, again,
Yeah.
such lovely souls. Personal experience, the St. Bernards were always brilliant if you have the space for them and can put up with the drool and the hair and the rest of it.
Yeah, they are lovely, but I think they're very high maintenance for people, which is difficult, and especially the drooling, because the drooling just comes in threads and it hangs off their face. And then if they shake their head, that's it. The house is destroyed.
Everything. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then shedding season is a whole other story. Yeah.
They'd be right up there with the Newfoundland as well. Newfies are beautiful. Or the Bernese Mountain Dog has become very popular in Ireland. I'm seeing more and more people with Bernese. They're getting really popular, and they are gorgeous. They're beautiful dogs as well. Terrible sweet. But again, very large and high maintenance, not easy to have, but they are lovely dogs.
Yeah, I think they're the dog for the horse lover. I kind of considered them. They have a very horse-like personality.
It's funny you should say that, because I live in Kildare, and I'm seeing more and more and more Bernese Mountain Dogs in Kildare, and of course that's the horse county of Ireland.
Absolutely.
So I'm seeing there's a lot of them around where I am. I've seen 5 or 6 of them over the last 2 years, kind of appearing. Where did they come from? So yeah, they're becoming very popular. They really are. They're beautiful dogs.
Very, very nice dogs. Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose we kind of touched on it already a little bit, but how does a person's work schedule maybe affect all of this as well? I know we wouldn't be recommending people leave dogs for hours and hours and days on end at home alone. That's not what we do in a good positive culture. But are some dogs tending to be more high maintenance than others, and others a little bit more happy with being solitary, or how do you see that?
Look, I have to be honest, all dogs are pack dogs, and none of them want to be solitary. They're very social animals, so there is, as far as I'm concerned, there's not one that really wants to be left on its own ever. And I tend to say to people, and they say, I'm thinking about getting a dog. And I say, well, are you working remotely, or are you gone off? Oh no, I work in Dublin city centre, Monday to Friday. I'm gone at 7:30 in the morning. I'm not back till after 6, 7 in the evening. I said, get 2 dogs. That's usually my answer. They kind of look at me and go, what? I said, if you can afford it and you think you can manage it, get 2 dogs. Pick a brother and a sister, or get 2 dogs that have been together in the rescue. Get them both. They keep each other company. And believe it or not, it's no more difficult than having one. Here comes Gwenny. Look, there she is. There's my Gwenny.
Came in to be the star of the show.
There she is.
Oh, she's
my
gorgeous.
Angel. She's beautiful. She is. Sighthound. Good old Sighthound. I knew she'd show up at some stage. She's going to steal the show now.
Absolutely.
I really do. I think if you're going to be somebody who's going to be gone all day, then consider having 2 dogs. And if you're going to go, say you've already got 1 dog and you're thinking about getting a second one, and you want to go to a rescue, make sure the rescue does meet and greet with those 2 dogs, with your dog and the new dog. If they don't, that's not good. You need a meet and greet. You need to see if your dog's going to get along with the new dog. My doggie came from a rescue, and they brought her here to meet my dog. And they played together and got in well. We could see it was going to be fine. It's going to be great. If you're going for puppy, maybe take 2 puppies from the one litter together. And I hear lots of people saying, oh, you shouldn't have 2 puppies, blah, blah, blah. Don't be ridiculous, it's fine. 2 puppies from the one litter living together, the rest of their lives are fine. They'll be fine with each other. I think if you're going to be gone all day, and then that leads me on then to crates. Because so many people have crates. To me, I personally will not have a crate. It's a cage. I don't like them. I prefer if dogs could live without them. But okay, there are people who do have them. And I think they're okay in the dog is going in for maybe an hour while you're out, or 2 hours at the most. But I have seen people go to work for 8 to 10 hours a day and the dog is in the crate all that time. And I think what's going to happen there is you're going to end up with a whole bunch of behavioural issues. Because when your dog gets out of that crate, your dog is going to be insane. Because it can't believe it's free. It's out and it's going to go completely mad and very hard to control. So if that's what you're looking at, getting a dog, but sure, I'll get a crate, and then when I go to work, I'll put the dog in the crate, then maybe get yourself a cuddly toy. Don't get a dog. It's not for you.
Offer your neighbours free dog sitting, honestly.
Yeah.
Offer your neighbours the opportunity to take their dog for a walk on Saturdays, so you can go down and get your cappuccino and have a dog on your arm.
so many doggy daycares now as well, and so many dog walkers.
Yeah.
There's lots of them. Now, having said that, make sure that they're qualified to have
Yeah.
dogs in their company, because there are quite a few of them out there who are not qualified. And they may not they may not be behaviourists and may not recognise an issue with dogs, or read an issue wrong, where
Hmm.
they think a dog is being aggressive and it actually isn't. I think it's really important to make sure that you're not afraid to ask to see the qualifications or what they have before you leave your dog in the care of those people, especially more so with dog walkers. I
Hmm.
think because I've seen 15-year-old kids who are doing dog walking for the summer, and I am concerned that they don't have the qualifications under their belt to really be doing that. You really have to know what you're doing if you're going to be having packs of dogs together from different social groups. You know, you're forcing them into unnatural social groups that they
Hmm.
didn't choose. So you really have to know what you're doing. But I mean, you can go down that road and have doggy daycare if you're working, if you can afford to do that, and pop your dog in there even 2 or 3 days a week. Because sometimes when they go in on a Monday into daycare, they go so crazy all day that you can get to work on Tuesday, leave them at home, and on Tuesday they're still very tired. So they're quite
Hmm.
happy to sleep all day. Then Wednesday, pop them in again. And then on Thursday, you'll get Thursday where they'll sleep all day. You know, so it's definitely, there's lots out there that'll help you to have a dog in your life. But you've got to be someone who's willing to be open to all of that and understand that all costs money. And it's
Yes.
going to mount up over the years. And it's a lifetime commitment of 10 to 15, 16 years.
That's
You
it.
know,
I think
mm,
that's it. You don't need to freak out about any one of these elements, but it's worthwhile setting yourself up for success and saying, I
yeah,
do like going away for 2 weeks in the summer. What am I going to do with my dog then? I do
yeah,
work in the city. I do this and that.
yeah, yeah,
It's all about
absolutely.
setting yourself up
It is.
for true success, really, isn't it?
Yeah, because you don't want to, nobody wants to have to hand their dog up to a rescue. Nobody
No.
wants to do that. And I think sometimes when dogs are abandoned, I think sometimes people are so shameful that they just don't know what to do and they do this. Okay, there are bad people as well out there who do terrible
Hmm.
things, but there are people who are just so ashamed that they don't want anybody to know, oh my God, I'm after doing this. I'm after giving the dog away. I don't want to give the dog away.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
happens. It does happen. And sometimes the best people in the world get a dog with the best intentions and it just doesn't work out,
Yeah.
you know, and they don't know
Definitely.
what to do. Mm.
So how can people set themselves up for success? To wrap it all up, because we've covered so many different areas. I suppose it's research, really, isn't it? And
Yeah,
make sure
yeah.
you've
And
got your ducks in a row.
don't make a quick decision. Say you look at a movie and you see Golden Retriever. You look at Homeward Bound and you see Golden Retriever, or in that the American Pit Bull. Chance is the American Pit Bull in that, and you think, oh my God, I'd love a Golden Retriever. Don't go looking at breeders. Sit down, write down all the points about your own life. Am I at work every day? You know, how much finances do I have to commit to a dog? What can I give to a dog when I've everything else paid? Can I do that? Am I going to be able to walk them every day? Do I want to walk them every day? Am I very active? Everything about your own life on a day-to-day basis, you need to jot it down and then go in and research the breed that you're interested in. And then you might see, oh, okay, right, this isn't going to work. This dog is going to need 2 hour walk every day. I can't commit to that. Okay, it's going to need play. Oh, these dogs are known for not really being great with kids. Maybe I've got 4 kids. You know, take everything into consideration. Another great tip is get on Facebook and join some of the communities on Facebook who already have these dogs. So you'll have like Rottweilers of Ireland, there's
Hmm.
German Shepherds of Ireland, there's Cavapoos of Ireland, there's Sighthound Adventures. You can go onto these and talk to people who've had these dogs for years and ask your questions. Put your posts up and ask for questions about these. What are the pitfalls? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? But do that for about 2 months before you finally make a decision. Sit down as well with your family and make sure that all your family members are on the same page as you. Because the last thing you want to do is go out, get a puppy, surprise everybody, and have maybe your other half suddenly go, I don't want a dog.
Hmm.
And it's not working out, or the kids have no interest. And another thing, never, I have to stipulate this one, never let your kids decide what dog you should get,
Hmm.
because your kids will always base it on what they think is cute. And I guarantee you, as soon as that dog's in the house, the kids will think it's a great novelty for 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, and then they get bored and they've no interest anymore, and you're stuck with the responsibility of then looking after the dog. So make sure it's a commitment that you want, not your kids.
And
Make sure
that's
it's
it.
commitment.
It's a huge commitment and responsibility. In the end of the day, it's a mortgage. You know, like you say, many dogs live for 20 years. You wouldn't just decide on that, you know, on what your kid said. So kind of think about it like that. You know, it's a long term.
I do think people should sit down and financially work it out. Boosters every year. So you got to get your boosters every year for your dog. Your cost of food, add it all up. Put it together. Pet insurance, add it up. Kennels, add it up. Groomers, add it up. Everything you're going to have to do, and look over a 15-year commitment how much that's going to cost you.
And that's a super point, because every time because we have a French bulldog and everyone sees them as kind of a designer dog and whatever, we often get people coming up to us at markets and fairs and saying, "Oh wow, you've got a French bulldog. That must be that was probably a very expensive dog to buy." And I was saying, I always say it. I'd say, the price that we spent on that dog was more in the first 6 months on vet bills than on the purchasing price. Like,
all your vaccinations, everything. Like, it's crazy. It all adds up.
Do not choose a dog because one is €1,000 and the other one is 750. Like, that's not a saving.
No, it really is. And I mean, something we took into consideration when my 2 dogs passed away last year, and we knew that for Ziggy we wanted to have a companion for him. Now he's nearly 15, so we were like, what can we afford right now? Do I want the cost of another 3 dogs? And I said, well, no, let's just keep it at 2 right now. And we waited for quite a while, and we watched the rescues. We knew we wanted to do rescue. So we watched the rescue. And actually, Gwenny, who was actually called Tilly, came up twice. She had gotten rehomed and returned. And then she came up again the second time we went for her. And we found out that one of the reasons she was returned is because she's deaf. So she can't hear a thing, the poor pet. But we find her fantastic. She's a challenge, but she's her face just stuck in the side. She's a challenge, but she's absolutely fantastic. We're having so much fun with her. So so you have to take absolutely every tiny detail into consideration. Everything.
Exactly.
You know?
And then and if you've done your due diligence and made your lists and done your research, you've got a really, really good chance of being able to make it work in the end, I think.
And book the dog trainer.
Absolutely.
Doesn't have to be anybody, but book the dog trainer, because dog trainers are there to help you. You know, book the dog trainer from the beginning. If you get a puppy, once you have the second set of vaccinations done, wait about 2 weeks after that, give them a little bit more of brain development, and book your dog trainer. Get them in with you, and learn how to train your dog right and raise your dog right from the start. And then you'll be really successful, because you'll have the tools to know what to do in every situation with your dog. I absolutely do recommend it. Yeah,
I can totally second that. I'd go further and say, you know, booking a good trainer will change your life and will change the relationship you have with your dog for their entire lives. So absolutely, so recommended. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for coming on and chatting with us. It's been absolutely fantastic speaking with you, and I hope to speak with you very soon again.
Oh, you will. Thank you so much for having me on. That was fun.
Thank you. So much fun. Thanks a million, and chat to you soon. And once again, a massive thank you to Vanessa for joining us on the podcast this week. If you would like to follow Perfect Paws Dog Training and see some more of Vanessa's work, you can catch her social media handles in our show notes, or you can Google Perfect Paws Dog Training. If you would like to support Ruby Reese as a small business, you can head on over to our website, which is ruby-reese.com. We also have our most recent survey results up there, where we surveyed the Irish dog community and have shared loads of exciting insights. So that's something else that you can check out over on our website. And of course, subscribe to our newsletter and all of the rest of it. It would also be fantastic if you've enjoyed this episode, if you could start following us or subscribed to this podcast wherever you're listening to it. It really, really helps this podcast get in front of more people like you and me. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday.